Hey there, Elizabeth here, and before we get into today's episode, I thought I would just make sure you knew about my free workshop. It's called The 3 Secrets to Integrating the Arts with SEL. And if you're interested in creating some calm, dissolving those distractions, and promoting positivity in your classroom, this is definitely a workshop you want to check out. You can go to theinspiredclassroom.com/workshop and register for free right there. I hope to see you inside. Hello, everybody. Elizabeth Peterson here, and welcome to the Inspired Classrooms podcast. I thought for the next 3 episodes, we would take a close look at some creative teacher self-care, and specifically some permissions that we can start giving ourselves. I think it's really important for us to really reflect on how we can give ourselves some permission inside of our own classrooms. Because teachers can be just so overwhelmed in their job. Are you? Are you sometimes feeling overwhelmed, right? Maybe the morale is down. Maybe you have day after day of walking away from your classroom and you're just rolling your eyes and wondering what in the world is happening. Maybe you feel like, things are just piled and piled and piled on top of you and you need to keep up and keep up and keep up. Testing season is right around the corner as I'm recording this. So there's a lot of pressure on you right now, as there is all year. So we're going to talk today about the permission to pause, okay? It's something that you really need to think about, and sometimes you need to stop yourself in the middle of this overwhelm and remind yourself that you can give yourself the permission to pause and do something a little bit different. So let's talk about what that might look like, okay? I'm going to start off with an extreme example, okay? I love this story. It's my story about studio days and how studio days actually saved my year, one year. We were in the middle of test prep one year. I was teaching 4th grade and I was feeling the stress. And when I looked out at my students, I could see the stress in their faces too, right? We were test prepping, we were working hard, we were doing academics, all through the day, pretty hardcore in different ways, just so that they could feel prepared for the test. But again, when I looked out at their faces, they didn't look very prepared. They looked pretty darn stressed. And so I decided to take a play from my very own playbook, Studio Days, and we scheduled in time to do one. So let me tell you what Studio Days is. It's actually the title of my second book, Studio Days in the Classroom. And what it is 10 lessons where you can go really deep into the creative process with your students so that they can reflect on their learning and discover more about themselves. It's actually SEAL, Social Emotional Artistic Learning, before SEAL actually existed. It was like one of my major stepping stones to creating SEAL. Well, this particular year, I decided to stop what we were doing, and I actually took the entire day. Now, as a general classroom teacher, I kind of have more flexibility to be able to do this. And if you have questions about how you can apply this type of thing to your teaching situation, if you do not see your students all day, by all means, let's have that conversation. Let me know. I'll give you more ideas about that. But we took the entire day to go through the creative process. And what we did was I asked my students to create piece after piece after piece of artwork using paint and creating circles only. And so what they did was they started off, making circles, making blobs on their papers. But the thing with a studio day is that you really want to push your students. And so after they would finish one, I'd say, okay, let's create another. Well, without getting too deep into the actual lesson, what I will say is this. The kids needed that. They needed this pause in our curriculum. They needed this to just kind of let go for a little while and to create something beautiful and fun and interact with each other. And some students took it as an opportunity to pull away and really get into the creative process of mixing paint or trying circles in different ways. And it really got them into a much better frame of mind. We spent the end of the day doing our reflections and discovering things that we learned about ourselves. And then we actually created this list of how studio days and how our going through this creative process actually gave us some good guidelines of how we can be a great community. So hands down, the day was so beneficial for so many reasons. But back to the idea of pausing. It took a little bit of guts on my part, I'm not going to lie, to go against what the rest of my fourth grade team was doing, to completely stop the curriculum that we were teaching, the test prep that we were doing, and to pause and allow my students to do something creative because I knew that's what they needed. And quite honestly, I knew that's what I needed. Remember, this is all about teacher self-care, creative teacher self-care. And sometimes we can bring bits of our own self-care into our classrooms. And this is one way. Now, of course, this is like an extreme example, right? Taking an entire day to do something creative like a studio day. That doesn't need to be what happens. Your pause can be small. It can be that you take a break, you pause from what you're doing with your students, and you have a little discussion with them. You know, maybe you talk about what your favorite song is or what your favorite kind of music is, and just have a laid back conversation with your students. Maybe you have something that I live by. I love having an emergency folder of pages that I can just pull from if I need a break, if I know my students need a break, if something happens in the classroom and I need to bring my students, evacuate them out of the classroom or whatever it is, I can bring this little folder. And you can also use what's inside this folder when you just need a pause. Maybe it has some coloring pages that are appropriate for the age level of your students. Maybe it has, like little boxes where they can do quick drawings, or maybe it has prompts that they can do some writing on. But being able to pull a stack of ready-made papers or a quick assignment that you can give to your students that they can do completely independently so that you can take a pause. That's another great thing to have in your back pocket. It's okay to pause what you're doing when you need it. That's part of your self-care. And I want to wholeheartedly give you the permission to give yourself that. Give yourself that option. So think about what is something you can do now to make sure that you have that mindset available to you. Maybe you can think of something really quick right now that you can do and jot it down in your planner. Put it on a sticky note, put it on your desk or on your computer monitor so that when you feel yourself becoming overwhelmed, when you feel your students becoming overwhelmed, you can look at that sticky note and remember you have permission to pause every once in a while and do something that you and your students need to do. All right, I hope you've enjoyed this and I hope you got something out of it. Let me know if there is a way to get comments in here, or go ahead and DM me on Instagram or Facebook. You can find me all over social media at The Inspired Classroom. All right, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Thanks so much for listening. My name is Elizabeth Peterson. Be sure to subscribe, and I look forward to continuing this journey with you.